2026 sees me travel the length and breadth of England to run a marathon per week in each of its 39 historic counties. Why? To raise funds for Tommy's, the charity that does incredible work to try to end the heartbreak of baby loss. I'll be joined each week by someone who has their own story of loss, their own rollercoaster journey, their own reason to be there. This podcast shares those stories in the hope that they can bring awareness to an often undiscussed topic and even, perhaps, a flicker of light in someone's darkness. You can follow the runs, the stories, and donate to the cause at marathonsformiracles.com. Enjoy.
To Marathons for Miracles, the podcast. We're here for another week, and this is week 30, which is a huge milestone on a 39 run challenge, 39 week challenge. Getting into the 30s feels like a big win. Also means we've still got 10 marathons to go, which equally 10 marathons in 10 weeks is still a lot, and particularly a lot when you consider what we've got to do this weekend, which we will come on to later. But we are heading this week back up north. We're going to Cumberland. Yes, that is right, isn't it? Yeah, I can't tell you how much I've had Cumberland and Westmoreland confused in my brain, and who was doing which one and which one was which hill. But yes, we're in Cumberland. Fun fact: we're doing the historic counties, and Cumbria is the only county that multiplies when you go backwards in time rather than becomes fewer. So there you go. Cumbria becomes Cumberland and Westmoreland. So we've got 2 trips to the lakes in the next month. And this is the first one. And we are joined by Charlie, who is very much a Cumberland local. Is that fair? Is that a good assessment?
Yeah, well, we've lived here for, I don't even know, long time, 8 years. I live in Westmoreland, annoyingly, but
oh, okay.
you kind of draw a diagonal line across Cumbria and you get one or the other. But anyway, the main thing is I'm doing Cumberland.
You're doing Cumberland, yeah. So yes, very excited for a trip to the lakes. Potentially slightly apprehensive about what we're taking on. Personally, walk in the park for Charlie, but like I say, we'll come on to that a bit more later. But thank you very much for joining the challenge, Charlie, and for joining the podcast. And yeah, we'll kick off as ever by asking what it is that led you to be involved with Marathons for Miracles and for Tommy's and their cause.
So we were just talking about this. I didn't realise it was a mad thing to do, but I was in the middle of a miscarriage when I got a message through my local ladies running group about this. And I thought, do you know what? That's a really positive thing to aim for, a positive group to be part of. So then I got in touch with Olly, and Olly phoned me and I cried down the phone, I think, at him. So it felt like something really positive to focus on through a difficult experience, an experience that opened my eyes to things I wasn't aware of, and I wasn't aware that people had to go through. So kind of before I start my story, I've a caveat. I know I'm really lucky. I've got 2 beautiful daughters. I know a lot of people experience far greater loss, and listening to the podcasts has kind of really humbled me in that I haven't shared this with many people because it's quite, in a way, I found it quite lonely having my third being a miscarriage, because I've already got 2 kids. There's not many stories out there of people miscarrying their third, and it's a bit of a leap of faith to go for 3 anyway. So I kind of was quite private about the fact that I wanted 3 as well, because that can sometimes elicit a bit of judgment. But I think, as you told me at the time, Olly, grief isn't a competition and there's no yardstick for this. It's you feel exactly what you feel. But the experience affected me loads, way more than I thought it would, and it still continues to at times. So the background for even getting to the point where I'm miscarrying is I'm the 3rd child. I've got 2 older brothers, and they're the best things, and I'm really lucky. So my image of a family is 5. So I managed to persuade my husband that 3 was a good idea. So miscarriage wasn't particularly alien to me. My mum had quite a lot of miscarriages and told me about them. And I don't do it now, but used to scan loads of cows for baby calves. So I was kind of quite aware of pregnancies being lost and not holding, and I'm not a doctor, but kind of understand the biology behind it. So I was quite aware that it could happen. I definitely wasn't aware of how it did happen. I kind of just assumed that you just bled and that was it, and it was over, and that experience definitely wasn't like it for me. So yeah, we started trying, got pregnant quite quickly, and around 7 weeks, it's actually a year ago on Saturday that I started. I first had a bit of a bleed.
I remember actually you saying when we were putting the dates in, you said I'd quite like that date because it'll probably be a year. It'll be the year anniversary. So yeah.
So, yeah, we were like house sitting for someone. I was on call. I was looking after the kids in the morning, and I had a bit of bleeding. Panicked initially, and then it stopped. And then, like, everyone's story is slightly different, isn't it? But eventually, the next week, spoke to the GP. My brother's a GP anyway, which is helpful, but eventually spoke to the EP, and I'm lucky enough that the EPU, the early pregnancy unit at Carlisle, did scan me, whereas I know that friends in Scotland, they won't even scan you till 12 weeks, so you just have to wait. So they found a heartbeat, but it was small. So I kind of knew it was way too small. A lot of people were quite positive that had a heartbeat, like my mum. But then you've got that horrible 2-week wait, don't you? Is it going to be okay? Is it not? And it was unhelpfully timed in the school holidays, so there was no space for me not to be okay. So waited the 2 weeks, felt like a ticking time bomb. We were meant to go on holiday, we kind of cancelled everything. We still went places, but we just wanted to be close to the hospital because the doctor kind of told us that we needed to be in case it started bleeding. So what happened next? Then we went back after 2 weeks. My mum was amazing. She had the kids for the actual scans so that my husband could come with me. And then we went back for the second scan and there was no heartbeat, but there were 2 sacs. So it was likely that it had been twins and they just weren't viable. That's the way. I know that language isn't helpful for some people, but I actually found a lot of the clinical. My husband found it particularly unhelpful, but because I'm clinically minded, I felt comfortable with the language.
Yeah.
Bizarrely, I know that's a very different skew to some people, but the doctor was amazing. The first thing he said is that this isn't anything you've done, and there were just loads of people everywhere being really supportive. And our trust, they gave me a choice about how to manage it. It's such a horrible choice to make. I didn't realise that. Yeah, so then we kind of went on holiday just to the lakes in a caravan, and I had to make this decision. And I've got some friends who were really helpful. I think I couldn't find a lot of information, loads of information about the different ways, but I opted for surgical management, which some people call D&C, don't they? And I'm really, really glad I did because I had the kids at home, so I could get the kids looked after. I knew when it was going to happen.
A bit more predictable.
It was predictable. It was the doctor was, again, really good, really professional. And we were having a really hard time by this point as a family. My daughter still remembers it as the summer that Mummy was sad. So we decided to stop trying, and I got an IUD put in at the same time after the surgical management. And the relief that I felt that I could just get off that train, get off the anxiety, was quite strong. I still remember this nurse, midwife, probably get the right name, but she was incredible because she was there supporting us. We have 2 kids and she was going through IVF because we told her how good she was, and she was going through IVF. And she was the one that kind of said, question was can I get like contraception put in now? Which didn't feel like a question I should be asking, but it's what I needed. I needed to just pause because it was, I think the kids were great because they get you up and they get you going and they can't wallow, but there was no space. There was no space for me and my husband to talk about it, to not be okay. And Robin was my eldest was 4. So she kind of, if we talked about it, she knew. Whereas the younger one I had no idea. She was fine. So yeah, I was really naive, and my natural reaction is to feel guilty, but I felt guilty for all the people I know that have miscarried. I didn't know how hard it was, of all these different things that happen. And I just really wasn't prepared that it was actual grief. That sounds like a really silly thing to say, but it hit me really hard. I think it's tied up with the fact that we decided to stop trying as well. And I've got some amazing friends, and I knew for me to heal, I knew that I needed to not feel anxious, not chase something I didn't have, not keep trying, essentially. And I know I needed to go on runs with my friends and just feel it all. So that's what I did. I'm just really grateful for the people that helped, because to just sit with someone else's pain and not fix it is amazing. And they know who they are, but they were amazing. One of my colleagues was great. He doesn't have kids, but he's been through grief and he just got it. And my work were great. They gave me loads of time off. I'm lucky enough to be a civil servant, so we're really looked after. And my first day back at work, I worked at home. I was sat at this desk, and for some reason, I just couldn't stop crying because the world had moved on.
Yeah.
It's like, it still hit me. And he phoned me just so I could let it out and cry. So people really surprised me, and I've been on huge long runs with so many friends, and it's kind of brought me to where I am now. I'm in a much better place, even if I'm still crying a bit. But yeah,
You know what though, Charlie? It's really interesting that actually you went through the whole story of the pregnancy and the miscarriage and the hospital and the surgery and your kids, and that didn't make you cry. But the thing that made you cry was remembering the friends that were there to support you. And I think that's, well, I think it's a good sign from your perspective, without being a psychotherapist or whatever the word is myself in any way, shape or form. But like, to be able to talk about that part fairly objectively and without getting upset, but to then it's just goes to show, doesn't it? It's always the people in your life that make things special and important, whether that's good things or bad things. It's remembering what people did for you or what you did with other people that is often more emotive, isn't it? And I think it's the point at which I've sometimes got upset telling our story. It's not so much telling people about what happened in the hospital. It's about remembering the conversations I had to have with my parents, or the conversations I had to have with my friends or my work colleagues, and sort of how that news affected them and how their reaction affected me. Whilst I know you don't necessarily want to sit and cry on a podcast recording, like the fact that was the thing that triggered it is really interesting, and I think really, really quite special.
Yeah, it's kind of the gratitude, isn't it? Like I'm not grateful that it happened, goodness me, but there's the positives that came out of it. I went for a run with a friend, and she had a similar but different experience, and she told me about that bubble in a box thing with a grief button. Have you heard of that?
No, I haven't.
I'm probably not going to describe it very well, but I found it really helpful. So at the start of grief, so there's a box, and then on the inside of the box is a button. It's like your pain button. And at the start, there's a kind of balloon or a bubble that's very big, and it's pressing that button all the time. And over time, that ball gets smaller, but it still hits the button sometimes, and it still feels as raw, but it just doesn't hit it as often. And actually, I think that's quite a help. I'm quite a visual person.
Yeah,
and that was really helpful.
That's really interesting. Because you're right, it doesn't. When we were back in Finchleyfield at the weekend in Essex, where we finished up the marathon with Amy, which is where we lived when we had our miscarriage. And there's a tree in a field near the village that that's how we remember the baby that we lost. And we went back there at the weekend, and the bubble hit the button. And as you said, it's no less painful when the button does, but it doesn't happen as often.
Yeah, and it was quite helpful for me, because then when it does hit, I don't think I'm descending back into the dark place I was in, and I know that it'll pass. I can remember during it all, I met a friend for a run, and I probably just cried the whole run, and she just let me, and she's actually going to run with us, the start bit with us on Saturday. But yeah, I think I find it a hard story to tell, and actually one of the most helpful podcasts I found was Was it Lancashire, the one that they did that stopped trying as
Yeah,
well?
with Edwin.
Because like, I remember her saying, you could just have what you want tomorrow, but I'm different now. The world looks different to me now after that, and everyone's a bit older. My youngest a bit older. Lots of things have changed, and it's complicated. I don't really raise it with people because I find it quite hard to explain, because I probably don't understand myself, but I find it quite hard to explain why we stopped, because it doesn't really make any sense, but it does at the same time.
It's a gut feel, right? It's you just know that that's the right thing to do, and then you can figure out the why later on or not. I think just knowing in yourself that it's the right decision is enough of a why, without necessarily being able to explain it to other people. You said about your daughter referring it to the summer that mummy was sad. What do you think was causing you the most pain?
Yeah, I think physically it's pretty grim, and it's a constant reminder of what you've lost, what you're losing. I've never experienced it before, and I don't know if everyone feels it as strongly as I did, but I also know a lot of people go on and try again, and that's the focus. So probably part of me was grieving for that family. I knew I wasn't going to have that kind of family of 5. And my children are a massive joy, but they're also a constant reminder then of you're not going to get that little thing again. I don't think I cope with loss very well. And I never, don't get me wrong, I've lost grandparents, but I don't think I've actually ever felt grief before like that. And it's like the loss of an idea, isn't it? And I was so excited. My husband was like absolutely terrified when I found out I was pregnant. I was so excited. And it was vice versa with the girls. I was scared. I think I also know that what makes me okay is being able to exercise and run and go to the gym, and I couldn't do any of that. They tell you to stop doing it. It felt like I couldn't move. You feel like your body's failing you, especially for the interim period, whereas we didn't know everything was okay.
How long was that process? Because it's like, again, as you said, everyone's different and every miscarriage is different. Seemingly, for us, it was very much. It had been going on for a while. Like Amy had bled pretty much the whole way through, and when we then compare that to the 2 pregnancies since, where she didn't have a spot of blood for 9 months either time, you go, okay, yeah. In hindsight, that one was very, very different. But on the sort of the week that it actually happened, it was probably we'd gone in on this Friday evening with quite heavy bleeding, got sent home, went back in on the Tuesday, and then Amy delivered it on the Wednesday, I think. So it all happened quite quickly, but it seems that yours.
No, it was spanned the whole of the summer holidays, almost exactly.
Oh, wow.
So kind of started at the start of summer holidays, and then they kind of went back to school, and then I had my surgical management. But then it's not over, is it? Because you have a massive hormone dump, and you're still bleeding. I still bled for like 6 weeks. So the physical recovery. So yes, it was quite protracted, the whole thing. And then things just hit you. I remember, and I'm hoping Cumbria Health Service have changed this, but I got a phone call from a health visitor in March saying, "Oh, I hear you're about to have a baby." And I was like, "You've got the wrong number." And she was like, "No, it's your name." And I would have been about to have a baby. It just hit me like a ton of bricks.
What is that? I don't know. I thought you didn't really get referred to the health visitor until you'd given birth, and you get booked in for your 10-day appointment or whatever it is.
I've been to the midwife because I'd had like my 8-week check or whatever that first one is before you scan.
Yeah.
I'd had that. I got reminders for like my 16-week scan and stuff. That was probably, everything else was fantastic. Like we got a memory box and we got 2 little teddy bears for the girls and stuff. But yeah, that was not ideal, and it's just the systems. But it was every time you kind of got a reminder or something like that, you were thinking, yeah, I would have been, but it'd be quite nice if I could just move on.
Yeah. That's just personifies everything that we've spoken about with the NH. The people involved, the individuals are superb, but the systems are just don't set them up for success. Like, how bad would that health visitor have felt giving you a call?
She felt awful. She kind of
Like,
just said, she left me a number and said, if you need anything. And yeah, I know, it wasn't her fault. I said, this isn't your fault, but I was crying. But
yeah.
it just hit me out of the blue. Yeah, it's a strange feeling, isn't it? I know I've heard you talk about this and other ones when you think where you would have been if it worked out. Yeah. But I think looking forward for me is the main thing now, and thinking about looking forward with the family that I have. And I'm so lucky. And there are some real positives. I think probably what I've realised, and if anyone else is listening having the same thing, having living children doesn't protect you from the loss of losing something. And I remember on one of my runs with my friend where we were discussing like having more kids and stuff, and it's probably quite a dark thing to say, but you kind of, one of the reasons we want to reproduce is if you lose a child, right? And I was like, but then you kind of think about that, but that doesn't, a loss is a loss no matter what, no matter where you are. And I know my loss hasn't been as bad as others, and I'm aware of that, and I don't want anyone listening to this to take away anything negative because I've got 2 kids, if that makes sense. But if anyone could take anything positive from it, then I hope they can.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's really interesting that you say, having the kids doesn't necessarily take away the grief of the loss. It's often something that we speak about where people have perhaps lost first, and it was certainly the case for us. It felt like the solution to that problem was to have a kid, and I think to a large extent, it did. It solved a lot of problems, because for us, we didn't have any children when we had ours, and then so that was still a dream we were chasing. But certainly, then in hindsight, the fact that we had one didn't remove the sadness of the loss, and it certainly didn't remove a lot of the psychological issues around loss, particularly heading into subsequent pregnancies.
Yeah.
This is the one message that we've got from this challenge as a whole, because it does seem to come up every week. And if this is the one thing that we can help people with, it's like, just give everything. It's the term that Tommy's used the other week when we were at one of their events. It's very often minimised. Miscarriage is very often minimised. And whether that's minimised by society or it's something that we minimise ourselves, like you said, you felt guilty for feeling sad because you already had 2. But no, that's not. You don't need to feel guilty for that. It's each loss and each situation is very valid in and of itself. You don't necessarily compare them to each other. Why would we compare losing one when we've already got 2 to losing one when we haven't got any? Like this, it's a standalone event, and it sits in its own space in your head, I think. And that's certainly the case for me and Amy. It's the same thing crops up. It doesn't matter when it happens. It can hit you for 6 at any time.
Yeah, and I think one really helpful thing, I remember messaging a friend like in the middle of it all. She hasn't got kids, but she's a doctor. She's fantastic. She's someone who actually came down and just took me on a run. But she said you'll never be okay with what happens, but it does get less painful, does get less hard. And actually just knowing that. And I think it's true. I don't think you're ever going to be happy about it, but actually it does get less raw over time.
You said that your mum had quite a few miscarriages, and you've spoken to her about that. Was that something you were aware of sort of prior to you ever having kids at all? Or
my mum's quite a sharer. I think I was aware of this my whole life.
That's good. That's what we're trying to encourage. Well done, Mum.
Yes. So I was really aware of it. I'm chilled in some ways, but my husband would probably call me a worrier. I was always relatively anxious, especially in early pregnancy, because I knew that mum had miscarried. And I think her latest miscarriage was when she was 16 weeks. We actually wondered in hindsight, because they never scanned in those days, because what am I? I'm 36 now and I'm the youngest. So we actually wondered after I miscarried with kind of the double pregnancy, whether that's potentially what was happening with her, and nobody knew. But again, you can kind of hypothesize. So yeah, I was very aware. I had a colleague who had multiple miscarriages as well. I was kind of aware that it was definitely a possibility. My brother loved quoting the 1 in 5 thing at me as well. He's a numbers man. I think it just hit me more. The physicality and the process of it, and I think, like you say, ours was probably particularly drawn out for lots of reasons. But yeah, that was probably the biggest shock for me. I was probably pretty pragmatic, way more pragmatic than my husband actually, about the actual, like, a kind of a fetus not being viable. But it didn't mean I wasn't really sad that it was gone, if that makes sense. I think that's the other thing that's really interesting. I think the experience you have as a couple, you both experience it really differently. And I think it was really hard for Tom to see me just be so sad and not be able to do anything about it. And we didn't have the space.
It's such a helpless position to be in, because there is, and this is particularly with the episodes we've done with other men. Another conclusion we've reached quite regularly is sort of just stop trying, like not stop trying full stop, but like I think it's a very natural instinct for men in particular to sort of try and fix things and like, okay, cool, there's a problem, let's solve the problem. How do we solve the problem? And it's just, this is one of those situations in life where you can't solve the problem. You just got to let the problem exist for a bit longer, and it'll still be a problem. It'll still be a problem in 20 years, but it just won't, as you say, I like that box bubble button thing.
Yeah,
I'm going to use that.
There's some actual like images of it. Yeah, it's helpful because it just reminds you that you're further down your path, but it can still hit. And a few friends that have been through it told me that as well. That it doesn't get, that have had kids since, it doesn't hurt less, the ones that you lost, but just it's less of a part of your life, I guess.
Was your mum quite a big part of helping you to move through things? Was she a fountain of sage advice, of sort of her memories of loss? Or
yeah, she was very open and honest about like how hard it was and the fact that it was a loss, and I was allowed to feel it. Which was funny because I was brought up in an environment where I was like, silly girl, you shouldn't cry kind of thing. Whereas for this, she really, like, I felt like I had permission to really feel how I was feeling, which was amazing. My brother and his wife were a massive help as well, but I think that it was just bad timing. They were away in school holidays as well. I do have another brother as well who was amazing emotional support. He's the kind of brother who I'll just phone and cry and he'll just let me. He won't try and fix it. But yeah, she was amazing because she had the kids. Well, we all had all the scans because you just end up in hospital loads, don't you? Back and forth. Yeah,
and it's so you're only ever seeing someone for 10 minutes, but it somehow seems to take all morning, all day. You just
and you have to walk past all the heavily pregnant people, and they are good now. They do have a separate waiting area, but you have to walk down the corridor. And it was strange because it was the rooms where I'd been with the girls and had different answers, but they were amazing because they made us like hot chocolate after the surgical management and gave us biscuits and stuff. Yeah, people are amazing.
Hot chocolate and biscuits solve most problems. The decision ultimately then to not keep trying, was that just a space thing? Is it sort of, there's too much going on right now, we can't put ourselves back in that
I think yeah, initially it was there's no space for this. We've got 2 kids. There just wasn't space. It was always quite a stretch to persuade my husband to have 3 as well, and it's a joint decision. And
then there were 2 of them. potentially.
Exactly. Yeah. When Tom saw the 2 sacks, I think he just went grey. Like, it's a massive testament to how much my husband loves me. Is he would just do anything for me, but I think he is very happy with 2 and would not rock the boat. And I think I had such last summer and spring when I wanted to start trying, I knew it's exactly what I wanted. And I don't feel that way now. I have little like moments when you think, oh, it'd be nice, but I don't know if it's time or the experience, but things change, don't they?
And it is, again, it just goes to show how it goes back to the minimizing point, right? It's how important it is not to minimize these experiences, because you can go from that mindset to where you are now. And actually, because Amy and I have been discussing this, we've just had a second. He's now nearly 6 months, and the questions come up a few times over the last year, like during her pregnancy, and then again since a couple of times. And I think we've reached a position where we think we're done now, and I think that is largely driven by just not wanting to be pregnant again.
Yeah.
And that's coming from, and like, I'm fully on board with that, and I don't even have to be pregnant, but just the process of getting pregnant and going through those 9 months and the stress and the worry and the everything. We're like, we've now got 2 kids that we need to think about and look after and care for and give our attention to, and it just takes up so much emotional bandwidth, that whole 9 months. Like, there's having 3 kids and the practicalities of it and everything else. Those are factors.
But that you can kind of get around them, can't you?
Yeah,
you can like
but it's
logic your way out of them. But it's actually a massive relief to hear you say it like that, because it's like you're over a year of your life of stress, and where you're probably not really present with the kids you have. I do get triggered when I see families of 5 with 3 kids, and it looks amazing, but it's also the age gap's different now as well. And my husband doesn't want me to be pregnant again. He says I'm ready. But actually, that felt really good hearing you say it. And it's an okay thing to think and feel, is that none of it's nice, and it's stressful, and it means you're not living your life for a bit.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think I know the answer to this question, but what is it ultimately that really helped you to get from where you were to where you are now?
Yeah, exercise. And it isn't just running. Actually, I have an amazing gym in our village, like where we lift like barbells and stuff, and that's made me feel so strong again. So basically, in my moment, I remember I ran up Scafell with a friend, and I was sat on top and I was crying. This was like in the middle of it all, and I said, I think I'm going to do a Bob Graham. I really needed a goal. I really needed it to be clear to everyone that I wasn't trying without having to say those words. So I just announced to everyone that I was going to train for a Bob Graham. This is going to make me sound like a really good runner, and I'm not. I was borderline fast enough to do a Bob Graham. I don't know if I'd have managed it. But I used to use a running coach when I did like ultras, and I got in touch with him.
We're not a pure running podcast, although we do have a lot of runners around. A Bob Graham is a big loop of the lakes in 24 hours.
Yeah, it's got over 8,000 meters of ascent. It's very, very up and down. It's quite a fast pace, I would say, getting it in 24 hours. It was just such a good focus for me to actually feel good about myself, good about my body. I didn't do it in the end, because I ended up in like February. I like walked up the stairs and got out of breath, and I thought something's not right, because I've been training really hard. I should have been really fit. I think I ended up with long COVID or something, so I had to scale back. And then my husband started on shift pattern, and so there just wasn't really time after that. But in a way, it kind of did what I needed it to do, because I took days off work and I went running with my friends in the fells, going recceing legs, and it made me look after myself, because I ate better. I actually went to the gym. I went running. I connected with people because I went out on those long runs. So just feeling good about my body again. But when I look back, it's always been, for me, my way to heal is just going out running.
Did you run pre-kids? Is it sort of just something you've always done?
Yeah, I think I kind of started running a little bit at uni, and then when I went out into the world of work, started doing a few half marathons, and then just got a bit bored of pounding the road. So then I went into the fells, and then I wasn't very fast, so I just kept going further instead of getting faster.
Yeah.
So yeah, did some cool races before the kids. I managed to get a few good ones in between the two of them as well. And I might have another go at the bob one day, maybe when my youngest at school. I'll just see it's something that you've got to really want to do because it's so hard.
A friend, friend of mine from uni, he actually ran the Durham leg with us. He trained for it last year and had a go at it, but I can't remember what happened. I think he just picked up a bug like in the week in the run up, and so he was just doomed to fail, really, just purely because he was ill, which is really annoying because you train for months. It's not the sort of thing where you can just be like, oh, never mind, we'll do it next weekend, because you've got all your support crew lined up and all this sort of thing. So yeah, well, I already signed up. I signed up in the week to be on your support team, but as and when you do it. So you can hold me to that one.
It was such a good thing to think of, though, because it was just the bob's about being supported by people, and it just kind of epitomised how I felt at that time, just having a nice time with my friends and just letting people support you, because I found that quite hard anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a cool thing to train for, and maybe one day, but maybe not. That's also fine.
Yeah. It's really interesting you say that as well, because so many people that I talked to about this year, the summary is I'm running 39 marathons in 39 weeks, but it's the running just feels like, now it feels like such a vehicle. It just feels like a vehicle to all of the other stuff. And the challenge is actually more about you and Amy last week and everyone else that we run with every week, and the messages that we get from people who are going through miscarriages and the money that we've raised. It's all, the running's the fun bit. Like, the running is once I actually sort of lace my shoes up and we go and see the world and we go and see the countryside, that's the easy bit, really.
Yeah.
It wasn't necessarily that way initially for the first few weeks, but now I've sort of got used to the distance a little bit more and got a bit fitter. Yeah, it's really interesting that you say, it's an interesting comparison. But talking of perhaps not finding it as easy as I have done, tell us about this weekend. What are we doing? Where are we going? Because, spoiler alert, there are some hills involved.
Well, I was looking at, I don't know if you've heard it, I was thinking about doing the old county tops race next year with a friend. And that does county tops of Cumberland, Westmoreland and Lancashire. I probably got that wrong. Someone will probably fact check me. But in that, Scafell Pike is the old county top of Cumberland. So I messaged you, and I think you were going to do it anyway, but you were going to do it on the Westmoreland leg.
Which would have been wrong.
So then we're loosely following we're going from Keswick, a little bit out of Keswick, and I've tried to reduce the ascent. So we're going to run along Borrowdale, which is beautiful, and then along down Seathwaite, hopefully up Scafell Pike if the weather's not too bad. It is a bit of a sketchy route, so the weather's going to have to be good. Up the corridor route can be a bit dodgy. This is a bit of a bad. So hopefully the weather's good, and hopefully my knee holds up. But yes, actually, interestingly, what you said, the scariest bit for me was doing this podcast. The, like I say, will be more of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
A bit nervous about running, like I'm quite slow, so running at someone else's pace. But we've got some people coming out to join us, going to run with us for a little bit. And there's some people who are going to come and bring us some snacks. I haven't quite sorted it all out yet because life's a bit mad, but hopefully kind of halfway along Borrowdale so that we see them twice. Because I think water's going to be the thing that we're going to need.
Yes, you're right. Water's going to be the key. I know, obviously, big hills do strange things to weather, but looking at the forecast as it currently stands, it's going to be clear as a bell, which is great from the perspective of getting up the hill, but not so great in other ways. But It's not going to be the hottest week we've had so far, and we're setting off nice and early, so we should get the tough bit done before it gets silly hot, and then if we're a bit warm coming back along the water, then we just jump in and
It's dipping spots, and actually it's actually really nice because we camped along that route the other day, and then last weekend we camped with the kids, and it was dull, and you could see Scafell Pike. It was clear actually, so yeah, it's a really nice route, and hopefully I can run it all. We'll just have to see. I've basically decided not to run really until I'm just going to give a go on Saturday.
Ignorance is bliss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely better.
That's good. That is good. I know those who follow the challenge avidly, which I know some people do, surprisingly. I put out some urgent messages on Instagram in the week to sort of say, Charlie might not be able to run. Please come and help me. I don't want to go up Scafell Pike on my own. And we've got a couple of people coming along as well. Amelia that ran in Worcestershire 2 weeks ago basically swore off running and swore at me quite a lot when we finished the run in Worcestershire. And then I put that message out sort of 4 days later, and she was like, I can't believe I'm sending you a WhatsApp again, but I actually really want to do it. So me and a mate are going to come and join you. So yeah, no, there'll be a good crew out. And look, it's, to me, it's been something that's been part of the challenge since the outset, really. Like, we're doing every county in England. We're spending a lot of time down by the sea. It feels right that we go up to the highest point as well. So we'll probably go from highest to lowest in a week, actually, because we're in Lincolnshire the following week and running out on the fens, and a lot of that is actually below sea level. It was all reclaimed during, like, in the 15th century or something. So yeah, we're going from the very top to the very, very bottom in the space of a week. So yeah, interesting contrast. But yeah, it always felt like something that we had to include. And because of your local knowledge and telling us that Scafell Pike was actually in the wrong county, we're now doing a different route for Westmoreland, and we're going up Helvellyn, which a lot of people say is I've heard it's a nicer climb, actually, because it's sort of up a ridge and is a bit more gentle, whereas Scafell's like a bit more severe. But perhaps I'm wrong.
Yeah, well, if you go along the Dodds to Helvellyn, it's quite fun actually. That's actually on, if you do the kind of Bob Leg 2 route. Ours shouldn't be too bad because it's quite gradual. I think if you go from like Wasdale, which is the quickest way up Scafell, then that would be very steep. But ours should be all right.
Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah, it'd be fine.
I'm going to remind you of that at about 500 meters on Saturday. But no, I think we'll be okay. I'm a Norfolk boy, so they haven't invented hills there yet. So it's not something I grew up with. But we've done a few over the weeks now, and I live in Shropshire these days, so we've got a few hills around. So I think I've got used to them, but we'll be all right. But no, I'm really, really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be absolutely stunning. I love the Lake District. I love being out and about in the countryside. And if there's a third thing that we've definitely learned this year, is that we live in a very, very, very beautiful country, and this is one of the most beautiful bits of it. So yeah, it's going to be a real joy, real experience. Thank you for doing this. I know, as you said yourself, this is probably the bit you were least looking forward to, but outside of sort of doing the runs and the fundraising around it, these are the bits that hopefully are going to be the lasting legacy of the challenge, and the bits that can really, really help people when they're having a tough time. So I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your thoughts and your experiences. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you on Friday, ready for Saturday.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm gonna cross my fingers about my knee. And thank you, Olly, for making it so easy to share, because I've said before, I don't find this easy to talk about, and you make it easy. So thank you.
Thanks very much. No, it's really kind. Great. Well, I'll see you on Friday.
See you on Friday.
Thanks very much. Bye-bye.
Bye.